Hello and welcome to the KitPatcher video tutorial. What we'll be covering today is building and setting up a new launcher. So what we're going to do is drop a canvas into our scene here. We're going to go to Game Object, UI, and select Canvas. Next we're going to navigate to our prefabs folder where we have three prefabs: Game Launcher, Menu Manager, and UI Kit Launcher. So what we're going to do is drag and drop the UI Kit Launcher into our canvas. And next we want to drag and drop the Menu Manager just into the scene hierarchy here. Okay, and now we want to expand the UI Kit Launcher tree. We'll hold Alt, click the arrow next to it. We've got a few categories here. The two that we will be working with today is buttons and menu panels. We're going to assign a sub-menu panel to the corresponding button when clicked. And this is a very simple system. What we're going to first do is assign the sub-menu panels to the menu manager. So we're going to select the menu manager. And over here in the inspector, in the sub-menus array, we just want to add about 6 of these, and they go from element 0 to 5. And we're just going to start with the first sub-menu, home section, and just drag it in, drop it into the first field, and then events section. And let's go down the list here: community section, account section, support section, and then the patch notes is the scroll view. Okay, the bottom here, the panel to disable, use launcher disable. We're not going to use this in this tutorial. This is for if you are integrating a launcher into your project and want a built-in game launcher instead of a standalone. So we're not going to cover this today. Next, we need to assign the buttons to the sub-menu panels we just made. So we go to the button category here in the UI, select the home button, hold down your control key, and then select the buttons individually, going down the list here, account, support, and then we'll stop at patch notes. We're going to stop here and use these 6. The update, launch, and install buttons will be receiving different logic than these. So now we want to take our menu manager prefab, and we're going to drag and drop it from the hierarchy into the onClick method here in the inspector of the buttons. Next, we're going to select this drop-down box that says no function. We're going to go to UI menu controller, and then we're going to choose the last option, toggle submenu. And now when we look on our buttons, it should have the element button to the corresponding submenu listed. So we'll just check them all to make sure. Home button is 0, events is 1, community 2, 3, 4, and 5. So those are all correct there. We go back to our menu manager, double check, and we see them here in the array, and they are right. We can test this by clicking play, and it defaults to the home section, the first button in the list. And then we're just going to go down, and yes, it looks like they are all working. And how this works is it disables all of the submenus by default. They need to stay disabled, and then when the launcher is opened, it will default and open the home submenu. And then when you click on a new button, the previous menu is disabled while the new menu is enabled. If you do add any new submenus, just make sure that they stay disabled by default. Okay, next we are going to collapse the canvas. We need to add our game launcher prefab, and we're going to drag and drop it into the scene. Go back into the UI Kit Launcher, and we're going to assign the update, launch, and install buttons. highlight the update button, and we just want to drag and drop the game launcher into the on click. And we're going to choose the drop down box and KitPatcher and download folder. Next, choose the launch button and drag and drop the game launcher prefab from the hierarchy into the on click. Select the drop down, KitPatcher, launch game. Okay, and then lastly we want to set up the install button. So we need to add an on click here, and you can do that just by pushing the add button here. And then we want to drop in the game launcher into the on click, drop down box, KitPatcher, and this one is also going to be download folder. And the way that this works is when the launcher is opened, it will check to see if there is a game installation. If there is not a game installation, the install button will appear and the launch button will not work until the game is installed. Once the game is installed, the install button is disabled, and then the player is able to launch the game. Okay, now that's set up, we need to set up our game launcher. So click on the game launcher prefab that's in the scene, and then over here on the right we have some settings. We have FTP settings, launch settings, text elements, screen settings, and scene switcher settings. Now I'm going to go ahead and populate some information here. Okay, the FTP server settings, the FTP server address. This is the IP address or the host address of the FTP server that you are hosting your game files on. Username and password for the authentication for the FTP server. Remote folder path is the directory on the FTP server where you are hosting your game files. Launch settings, game executable. This will be the name of your game exe that is in your game folder. Text elements. These are the TextMesh Pro UI text elements that represent the notifications that the launcher has for update progress, game version, and update text. So what we're going to do is come over here into the UI kit launcher prefab that is in the hierarchy. And we're going to start with the first one, the update progress text. And just we want to drag and drop that into the field in the inspector. Version text, that is game client version text. Update text, that is update status text. And then we want to also reference our install button. So we will drag the button and drop it into the field there. Screen settings. This is for setting the resolution of the launcher. I just keep it here at 1920 by 1080, although you can go smaller or larger, just depends on your preference. Scene switcher settings. We will not be going over this today as this is another integration feature. Down in server status, this is a script that checks the online server for up or down. So the way this works is you will enter the host address or IP address of the server you are hosting your game server on. And then what we want to do is with the port is just any service that is listening on this address. We just need to send a ping to a service on the address, and if it's listening, we will know that if it's online or offline. And then the timeout request, ping request, usually I set this at about 30 seconds or a minute, once a minute or so. And I'll just enter in my address here for the server. And lastly, want to drop in the status text, that is the server status text over here. Okay, and now we're ready to test this. We're going to press play. Okay, and right away it is telling us our server is online. It is saying there is an update available and our game client is unknown. This is because we do not currently have a game installation. It does not detect one. If we look in the console and the debug log, you can see that it did not find a local version file and it did not find a game installation. And you'll see we do have an install button here, so what we're going to do is click that. It's going to ask for an installation directory, so we're going to make a new directory here. And it has started the download. It removed the game client unknown notification. And then we also have our downloading progress in the console. It will tell us if it is checking a file that is already that's already up to date, or if it needs to download any file. Okay, our download has finished, and as you see we have the all files up to date notification here at the bottom of the launcher. Our game client is showing version 5.2. Our server is still online. Down in the console, our local folder path is loaded. Game installed is set to true, and all files are up to date. So now when we hit the launch button, it should launch our game. And that will do it for this tutorial. If you have any questions or need support with the KitPatcher, you can find it in my Discord. You'll find a link to my Discord in the bottom of the documentation PDF. I have KitPatcher channels for news, support, and bug submission. So if you have any questions or are looking for help, it's a good place to find it. And that will be it for this tutorial. Thank you and have a wonderful day.